Bentley Bentayga roars from 0 to 60 in 4 seconds flat, happily gallops to a 187 mile/hour top speed, and features a bespoke interior filled with custom hardwoods, supple leathers, and a plethora of space-age tech.
These aren't your everyday motors that are built in 60 seconds, are they? We take our time, we build a quality vehicle. So that's what you're buying. You're buying quality and craftsmanship.
Artistry that harkens back to a very different automotive era.
There aren't a lot of craftsmen now in the UK to focus on it and to be able to pass it on is brilliant.
Keeping old world skills alive starts deep within the Bentley Woodshop, where it takes the 167 carpenters over 14 hours to handcraft a single interior.
We're really passionate about it. There's a lot to see. There's lots of veneers, lots of wood going on, lots of craftsmanship.
Sourcing the material is the first step. Wood hunters scour the earth looking for exotic old-growth trees that can often be up to 200 years old.
You can see behind us here the pallets of the walnut veneer. The last trip with the experts looked through 172,000 square metres of veneer, and ultimately they only sourced 72,000 square metres.
American walnut is the most popular selection, but if that doesn't catch your fancy, then there are dozens of more uncommon options.
We have lots of other wood. Tamo ash comes from China. It's a lovely veneer. It has a lovely 3D effect when it's in the car. There's smoke fiddleback eucalyptus, which again is a very dark wood. People like wood. It's tactile. They can touch it, they can see it. They can choose their veneers. They choose what goes in their cars. So it's very bespoke to the individual.
All of the veneers are extraordinary, but there's one that's even more exclusive.
The really rare stuff. How do you know about my really rare stuff? There's some veneer up here, which is Amboynia, which is the most expensive wood veneer around. It's in very short supply. It's very small leaves of veneer, hundreds of pounds per metre squared.
Selected veneers are gently walked from the storage area to the preparation zone.
We pride ourselves on book matching.
Book matching is an artisanal method where woodworkers mirror both sides of an object, or in the case of the Bentayga, the interior of the cabin.
What we've got here is a full set of Bentayga woodwork. It's done in the liquid amber, so you can see the lovely hue and the lovely grain pattern.
To match the panels, they first need to do a quick flip.
You're managing a little comic book to tell the story, and you could flick through the pages and the picture moves. But with the veneer, what we look to do is flick through those leaves of veneer and make sure it doesn't move.
The veneers are incredibly delicate. A single sheet is just 0.6 of a millimetre.
So the pattern repeats all the way through those 24 leaves. Once you've got that in the correct position, then they'll edge and joint the veneer and mirror match the two panels together. And that gives you that perfect centre-line match.
Once the veneers are mirrored, they laser cut the panels for each wood insert. Then carpenters sandwich 5 layers of tulip poplar wood in between the aluminium substrate and the top veneer. Finally, they compress it all together with 1,160 pounds of pressure and then bake it at 115 degrees Celsius. Even though Bentley currently builds 4 different vehicles, there's just one assembly line in the woodshop.
We're a linear process. All of our craftspeople work on all of our model variations. So if you're in the veneer end of the shop, you're working on all the model ranges. If you're in the sanding or the lacquering, you're working on all the different model ranges. So it's not just one model specific.
Given the highly artisanal nature of the work and the dwindling number of people capable of doing it, the brand sets up a unique apprenticeship program.
This is a new area of the woodshop for us. This is what we call our training island. We're now investing in some younger people to replace people like myself who can actually get on, work their way through the business with a skill.
There are 17 steps in the woodshop, and it takes 4 years to master just one. Company veteran Paul Fisher is the master trainer.
John's my brother, also one of my many bosses that I have, and a very challenging person to fulfil his requirements. Can be quite fun. I'm the younger one of the two, obviously the better looking. It's good family connection. That's a key thing here. We don't want to lose the traditional skills that Bentley's famous for, so it's key that we pass those on. It is the best job I've ever had, and they don't pay me to say that. It's a job I always aspired to do, so it was a dream come true.
I'd like to say it was planned. It was never really planned. Some of it is being in the right place at the right time. But when you've got a company like Bentley that's behind you and can actually see some of the potential that you've got at whatever level you're at, then you can't go far wrong. If you've got the passion and the dedication, then you can achieve anything in this company.
A dream job that ensures the brand's continuation.
What we concentrate on in here is very much handcrafted skills, some of which are not necessarily needed to manufacture the cars of today, but because we use a lot of hand tools, it's important that they understand what you're capable of doing with wood so that we can cover every eventuality in the future.
The apprenticeship program is a 4-year course that mixes classroom work with time spent on the floor.
We learn all the way through the process, all hand skills, which is what I love doing. I'm more of a hand skill sort of person.
Even though Bentley's business is building cars, many of the tasks are decidedly real-world oriented.
Great project for apprentices to capture some of the real craftsmanship of wood is to do projects like this. In order to manufacture that, you've got to have a real understanding of how the wood's going to react when you start to cut it and joint it.
Roofing is just the start. The youngsters also construct more ordinary items.
We've got these beautiful, what we call trinket boxes or jewellery boxes, where the veneer has been mirror matched in the centre. We've got the crossbanding, the boxwood inlay, something you would see in a Bentley. This element here, again, is made by a second-year apprentice. It's a chess table. So again, all the pieces of veneer have been cut by hand. It's got a secret drawer, which when opened has got the chess pieces inside.
The key isn't the item that's being crafted, but rather the technique.
It's life skills. It's important in and out of Bentley. You know, if you can't use a handsaw correctly or a chisel, then you're not really going to be a very good woodworker, are you?
People have been here 30, 40 years, and their knowledge is getting passed down. So maybe, and again, in 20, 30, 40 years' time, maybe one of us can pass it on to the new starters then as well.
Some graduating apprentices might be assigned to the second step of the build, in the sanding zone.
So we've come from the veneer press area. Down here now, the parts will be finished sanded.
Once imperfections are removed, the pieces head to the lacquer booth, where it takes 2 hours for the robots to spray 5 clear coats and then 3 more days for the pieces to dry.
When people think about robotics, they think about devaluing the product and actually taking some of the craftsmanship away from it. That's really not the case with us. With the sanding and the polishing, it's very labour-intensive. And what we find is you can get a lot of repetitive strain injuries if you carry on using people in that way.
Robots start the polishing process, but artisans finish it by hand.
Everything's been meticulously chosen, matched, lacquered, flatted, and we're now at the assembly part of the process. So this is where we call the jewellery added to the car.
The sparkle is bright, and so too is the opportunity available to workers.
I've been with Bentley now 28 years, and I started off on the shop floor like anybody else. I learned how to sand, how to flat, how to polish, I learned all of those processes. Since then, I've just developed through the business, and very, very recently, I've just taken on the acting role of head of department. One of my lifetime ambitions actually fulfilled. Couldn't be happier. Very much a local boy made good. Lots of my family before me have worked here. You met my brother earlier, he's a master trainer. Different aunts and uncles have worked here in the past. It is a family business in some respects.
A family business that goes back a long way.
You can trace the lineage back all the way back to 1919 when the company was founded.
The tale starts when engineering enthusiast Walter Owen Bentley establishes his own automotive company.
W.O. Bentley is our very famous founder and gave us this very fantastic strapline of make a good car, a fast car, the best in its class.
W.O., as he'd come to be known, despises cars of the late 19th and early 20th centuries. So he sets out to build something better. From the very beginning, his goal is simply to satisfy his own expectations as a driver, an engineer, and as a gentleman. This is the oldest surviving Bentley in the world. Built in 1920, the EXP2 paves the way for the brand's most decorated era of motorsports.
I hope you'll enjoy seeing this film as much as I did.
Just 3 years after its introduction, Bentley becomes the first non-French automaker to compete in the famed 24 Hours of Le Mans. Throughout the decade, a flying bee-adorned machine takes the checkered flag a remarkable 5 times. The early racing success hardens W.O.'s belief that bigger is always better.
Bentley was more of a hammer rather than a scalpel. It was, let's take the biggest engine we can throw in there and on the biggest body and make it work.
Racing provides the acclaim, but by the 30s, luxury tourers are all the rage. The 8-litre is W.O.'s finest Grand Tourer, and the last motorcar he ever designs for the company. Unfortunately, the machine launches straight into the Great Depression, and only 100 are ever made. By the late 50s, the Marque cements its status as an impeccable luxury saloon builder when it introduces a 4-door Continental flying spur, thanks to a specialty coach builder named H.J. Mulliner. Today, the car is remembered fondly, but the name is actually more important.
The Mulliner name can actually be traced right back to the 1500s with a family business that was involved in saddlery, and it became a carriage company in the 1700s, and eventually it got into building bodies for motor cars in the 1920s.
In 1959, Bentley buys the Mulliner company and turns it into an in-house bespoke division.
It's a very personal, it's almost the same as monogramming a shirt, but to the power of 10, you know?
If you add up all of the standard Bentayga options, there are over 1 million different combinations. Yet for some, that's not nearly exclusive enough.
There are always people who want something just a little bit more.
One of the most popular upgrades is a £23,000 picnic set.
Let's start with a real leisure accessory, which is the Bentayga hamper. We have a champagne cooler and 4 glasses, they're crystal. We then have bone china and silver-plated cutlery for that very special picnic. And then in the third section, we have a lovely Mulliner cashmere rug in its own hold.
They also offer one of the most expensive clocks for a car.
We developed, in conjunction with Breitling, a tourbillon that's made out of gold with a mother-of-pearl face, 8 diamond digits.
The tourbillon winds the clock using the vehicle's acceleration. And amazingly, it's nearly as expensive as the machine itself, costing a cool £150,000. Some customization offers a bit more of a vista.
We love doing things in marquetry. You can basically create any image you want to.
If a wood veneer isn't quite up to snuff, perhaps stone would be more to your liking.
So at the beginning of last year, we introduced a very rare stone veneer.
While the team is capable of creating almost anything the heart desires, there are indeed some requests that go too far.
We do get some requests that are interesting. My very favourite is we were asked once for a prescription windscreen, which was something that obviously we couldn't do.
Today, you don't need an optician to see that times have never been better for the Bentley Marque.